Ding dong, 3 are gone. With breaking news, this is Pucknology After Dark in the daytime with yours truly. I'm making AJ laugh and AJ strong.
No, because breaking news, and I'm expecting to hear like dee 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 dee.
I should have had that, but oh well. Enough luck. This is a quick one, so we'll just make it brief. If you want to be part of the show, hashtag Pucknology After Dark, or tweet any of us, Puck14, AJ_Strong, or the Pucknology one. All right, out of the way. By the way, Sharks, I'm still available to be your graphic designer. Meanwhile, the Sharks have reportedly announced that they will not bring back Scott Hannan or John Scott next season. As we all know, if you've been a regular of this program, Scott Hannan is part of the infamous Tire Fire 2015. John Scott was probably the weirdest signing from last off season, where everybody was shaking their head as to what was going on. So, AJ, this is where I'll bring you in. This isn't really a big surprise, but maybe Doug is finally clearing his head as to getting back on the right track to getting this team where they should be back in the playoffs and going for a cup.
Okay. I mean, it was just.
And that's the show, folks. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, dude, it's addition by subtraction, Scott. That we've talked about it before, but it was still, the John Scott signing was still one of the funniest things in the world to me, and saddest, just because here's a guy that Wilson proclaimed that this is going to be the guy who comes in to protect the the young pups, your hurdles and your Tierneys and your Nietos. And yeah, it's real easy to protect somebody from the press box, right? So that being said, Scott Hannan, who thought he was coming? Honestly, I don't think anybody wanted to see him back last year. But what were their options? Clearly, they didn't have enough options, or they were trying to just really save money last year, because you could have kept Brad Stewart. It's not like he didn't want to stay here. I would have taken Stewart over Hannan. Even though there was a significant difference in the amount of money being paid, but Mueller was brought up too fast, in my opinion, and I don't know. I think most Sharks fans think about last season. They want it to be like the end of the Newhart show, where it's just like, oh my God, you won't believe this horrible nightmare I had. I mean, that was that whole season in a nutshell.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where you had just scratched your head and go, why is he here? For that matter, for those two, why are they even signed to the team? They said go younger, we re-signed Hannan. They wanted to, help defend the little guys or the youngsters, or if anything, it was they bring in this guy, and I'm like, really? And he really didn't cause any issues. John Scott had the incident against Tim Jackman. He had a huge hit, although they considered it legal, on Grabowski earlier in the year. Is that making that scary noise or what?
No, yeah, that's him. That's the new one. So you want to know? It's like, yeah, I think I know why they went with John Scott and why they went with Scott Hannan. And let me see. I feel a little hot thinking about it. Let me think about why they probably signed those guys. I wonder what that could be. Oh yeah, this. Give me a break. I don't understand what the hell you're talking about. Plus the whole thing of, you look at what Wilson's done over the last calendar year or so. I mean, what did we give up to get Ty frickin' McGinn?
We gave up a third rounder
Exactly. For this year, right?
Right. Which
so we have 2 picks in the top 100 of this draft, and I'm seeing talk about, oh well, what would the Sharks have to give up to to potentially get Fear the Fin had a cool article about a Russian defenseman. I forget his name. It's like Parasov or
Ivan Provorov.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, I had to work today. Give me a break. Yeah. So, and I'm looking at his at the highlights video and stuff. And granted, highlights videos make everybody look great.
Of course.
But he, reading some of the stuff I read, it's like, yeah, that would be a great guy to get. But there's a lot of talk that he won't be around for the 9th pick. That it could go either way. Do you want to see and what it would cost to move up even 2 spots? Because it's like the top 5 are locked. So you want to move up two spots, you're going to give up your 2nd rounder, the only other pick you have in the top 100, even though this is a quote unquote very deep draft. I just can't see him doing that, especially when you have to you still have to take care of business in nets.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. There's been a report coming out that the Sharks would be very interested in acquiring the Rangers' backup goaltender Cam Talbot. It seems more than obvious now that Anthony Niemi isn't going to be returning as a Shark. It looks like Stalock is going to get more of a say in or more time in the goal, but you need a number 2 goalie, and I'm not sure if they're really quite ready to hand the reins over to just have a combination of Stalock and Grosnick. Talbot would be a nice fix. We've talked before about potentially Eddie Lack, the Canucks' backup goaltender, but they're asking for a 2nd rounder, which the Sharks are probably more than anything going to want to acquire rather than give up their last 2nd rounder.
And there's been talk, I shouldn't say there's been talk. There's been one particular gentleman bringing up either Neuwirth or Ramo, and to me, honestly, I don't know that Neuwirth or Ramo, from what I've seen of them so far, would you consider? I mean, you'd have to look at what the cost is going to be, but based on what Stalock and Grosnick are getting, is it worth it to sign? Like, is Neuwirth or Ramo a significant upgrade over Stalock and Grosnick? You could probably make the case that they are an upgrade, but you know what? I'm going to be in your face making the case that they aren't.
No, I mean, Ramo is an unrestricted free agent, so I can kind of see the idea of going after Ramo. It's probably going to cost you more than Grosnick, considering that he played pretty good time in the 2nd round of the playoffs for the Flames against the Ducks. But Neuwirth, I'm just not quite sure if they're going to be wanting to do that.
Yeah, I can't see it happening. And okay, let's do some. There it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see it happening. The Talbot, I understand that. Ramo or Neuwirth, nah, not. I don't think. I think it's you just dance with the devil, in Stalock and Grosnick. At least it's kind of like what we talked about with DeBoer. There's been there's so many people that and me, I'm a big Stalock proponent, and there's been a lot of guys that sat there and said, well, if Stalock was better, he would have taken the job and blah, blah, blah. And of course, the counterpoint to that being is, well, Stalock never got an extended look, really. He never had time to find a rhythm. Give him out of the first 25 games, give him 20 starts and sprinkle Grosnick in and see, and maybe if Stalock struggles early, give Grosnick back-to-back games or something just to see what you have in them, but at least give it a healthy look instead of just dismissing it. We've seen the numbers. Stalock's numbers are comparable to the Emmys, over the certain stretches. So I unless you can get Talbot's like the one guy I'd be focused on. It's clear Dubnyk is not going on the market. So and like I said, I don't think Neuwirth or Ramo are world beaters in any stretch. So
Would you consider that Ramo be the backup option to Talbot, or do you think they would just stay within their system?
I'd stay in the system. It's like dance with the devil, you know. Stalock
Yeah.
and Grosnick have proven, well, Stalock has proven to be a decent, you know, a pretty decent backup. He's had his bad nights, but he's also had some good ones. And you look at Grosnick, had a historical debut and then had a mammoth collapse to follow it up. So
Right.
you know, you know, Patrick Waugh was not, you know, the way they talk about, say, Waugh or Brodeur, and not that I'm comparing Stalock or Grosnick to them, but the point is, you know, Stalock didn't, or Patrick Waugh and Marty Brodeur, believe it or not, they didn't win every game they played. They had stinky nights. Every goalie has had stinky nights. So let's see what you have on an extended look from Stalock and Grosnick. That's all I'm saying. If you can look at them after 20 games and then say, "Oh my God, okay, I'm clearly out of my head. I'm drunk off my ass," you know, then okay, fine. But I'd at least like the benefit of the doubt there to say, okay, we've given him the chance. We've given him a look. It's time to move on.
I agree. You got to give him a shot at the very least. I mean, look at it. Years ago, after we let it go, Nabby, we were totally gung ho about we're gonna sign Inamaki and we're gonna have a tandem of Bryce and Inamaki. And it wasn't until late August that we acquired Niami and that we went, we're just gonna throw that whole idea out of the window.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to be a true rebuild, which, you know, we're not sure on still, we're going to retool on the fly or whatever. See what you got and then make the changes that you need. If that's how you're going to do it, if we're going to have to slow down the process and all, then so be it. However, if you feel that you don't have the right people in your system right now, then you better start looking. And I know, like I said, Black is available up in Vancouver. I doubt they would go after Ryan Miller, although Vancouver would love to get rid of that contract right now. And go with Warren Markstrom.
Yeah, I don't want that contract. That, you know, they're already. You gotta, you know, give me a break on that. I don't want that contract.
And let's be real here too. If the Sharks were really interested in Miller, they would have signed him last year and not go after the you know. And then here we are paying again for more, you know, giving up more in the system or down the road for something else.
Yeah, I think we might have come to the end of the Ryan Miller, Luongo, Brian Campbell kind of deals, or the what was the? Didn't Christian Ehrhoff get some ridiculously massive contract from Buffalo after
he got a contract signing, and then I think throwing in with his bonus, which was the weirdest thing. He ended up being, like, a couple of years ago, being the highest paid player in the NHL that year. I think he was like almost to $11 million that year.
Yeah, Christian freaking Ehrhoff. Seriously? So it just goes to show you how we think we got it bad here in San Jose. Buffalo, holy shit. But it wasn't for me actually so much the money, although the money was ridiculous for Ehrhoff. It was the length of these contracts. That's what I'm talking about. The you know, those front-loaded, you know, 10-year, 11-year deals for whether it's Luongo or Miller or Ehrhoff or whoever. I think we've come to the end of that. I don't or didn't who were the two guys that ended up in what was it, Minnesota, whatever, Suter and Parisi both got ridiculous front end contracts, and
right, they got ridiculous deals that that, you know, I think we saw the end of ridiculous deals after that. I think everybody was like, okay, we need to calm down on these, just because it's
because they've never worked historically.
No, because then at the end of the run, you're begging to be bought out, And in the league also fixed that in its last CBA, where you can only have like a certain percentage following the years downward. So that way you're not paying 12 million the first year and the league minimum the following year.
Yeah.
Makes sense on that.
And not to mention the fact that I have yet to hear one person talk about one of those extended deals and go at the end of it and go, man, that worked out perfectly. I haven't heard anybody say that yet.
I could see maybe for Parisi and Suter that it might work out, mainly on Parisi's side because he is a local boy from Minnesota, and that's probably their last contract that they'll sign. But I digress. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to move on to the other thing. Burish is finally being bought out. I think we were all rooting for that last season. I'm surprised he hung on this long. We've already kicked the tires on the Emmy. Then the other kind of elephant in the room, of course, is the speculation about Colorado poking their noses at Irwin, seeing what he wants to do, and kind of, that was one Shark that I had a feeling that he was going to get signed. I thought he would have already been signed by now, to be honest with you. I'm surprised they've gone this long.
I'm surprised that we haven't heard any major signings lately. We are over 2 months into the off season, but we haven't heard really too much about it.
Nobody's done a whole lot. I mean, I see Torrey Mitchell got like 3 years in Montreal. I see probably my favorite name in the NHL right now, Yakupka. Is that what it is? Yeah, Yuri Yakupka, something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I believe he's a Dallas Star. Yuri Yakupka, I forget. I don't know. Hearing Randy Hahn and Remenda, a couple of years ago, man, they were having so much fun saying his name. But anyway,
Yurki Yokapaka. I gotta look this up. Hang on. Keep talking.
Yeah, I told you. Okay, so Yurki Yakap, whatever the hell you said. So anyway, I love saying his name when I know what the hell it is, and it's fun listening to the broadcaster say it. But anyway, he just got an extension too at Dallas. So I mean, there's been little sprinklings of signings, not major names, but not like Matt Irwin is a major name. So I'm a little surprised, especially when you look at the lack of depth on the blue line that the Sharks have had for so long, especially this season. How do you? I mean, are there plans that we clearly do not know about? Are they expecting to get that Russian D-man stud at the ninth slot? Are they focused on free agent frenzy on July 1st that they've keyed in on a couple of defensemen that they plan on bringing in? Because clearly there are going to be a couple teams that are going to be in cap hell that are going to have to get some deals off the books, and the Sharks could potentially pull the same shit they did 5 years ago where they threw an offer sheet at Hammer and ended up with the Emmy. Who's to say that they don't go after somebody? But it's clear that the Sharks need at least two more defensemen, at least one top four guy. Because I'm sorry, to me, Dylan, not a top four guy. And if you look at it right now, we've got Burns, Vlasic. What's your depth chart?
You're looking at Burns, Vlasic, and Braun, and that's your three that you have for sure right now.
Yeah. So how are you going to fill out the rest of that? Do you think Mueller is going to have a huge sophomore season? I wouldn't bet on it. Somebody else going to somehow step up, especially, and if you don't sign Irwin, and Hannan's gone, obviously, and not that that's any loss. So you have to figure out where the hell are we going from here. And Burns, all that talk about he should be at forward, he shouldn't be defenseman. And then the weird thing is, what happens to him in Worlds right after the Shark season is over? He gets like MVP of the, he's like the best rated, the best player in the whole series, best defenseman, everything's, and it's like, where the hell was this defenseman all season?
You wonder how maybe the pressure's off and 15 feet of extra ice space can do to a player.
But the one thing I was waiting for somebody to say was, oh, well, maybe it was the coaching. And it's like, really?
No.
Is that the same goddamn coach?
Yeah, the same. What's funny is that his old coach, Todd McCullen, and his assistant was Pierre DeBoer, his new coach. So they both have an idea, and DeBoer and probably has talked to Doug about, all right, how did you use him this way and that and the other. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see because you're going to likely have Mueller up here. You're going to probably have Braun, Vlasic, Burns, and then the other two are, Dylan's a restricted free agent. I mean, there's no guarantee that he'll get signed.
But
you're going to need 3 defensemen, and I just can't see Bergman, Joakim Ryan, Taylor Doherty, Dylan DeMello, Conrad Altschauser. I mean, there's this guy named Matt Tennyson that you could maybe bring up. Yeah, or you also have Carl Stollery, but he's a UFA too.
Yeah, potentially I could see Tennyson. There are times when I would have taken Tennyson over Dylan. I'm not a Dylan fan, and from what I saw from Kevin Kurz today, because there was a little Sharks media thing today because we've learned about the Burish buyout and Scott Hannan and John Scott, and one of the things that apparently was mentioned in that was that I guess he has hopes of bringing Dylan back, and to me I was just. You can't find someone else better. I mean, I don't expect every player on the back end to be, Vlasic, but I just feel like I feel like the Sharks can do better than Dylan. And I still want to know what they're going to do on their fourth line. I'm still, until Torres plays like 5 games in a row and is, pain-free, doesn't have any problems, is skating well, is making plays, is cutting, then I'm not even penciling him in on the roster. I'm a little surprised Mike Brown is still here. So what is your bottom line? What is your fourth line looking at? Who's going to make it up? So you still have to address that. I don't know. Like I said, it's the whole cautiously optimistic, and I'm uncautiously pessimistic at this point. So,
absolutely, and with good reason. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're going to have to decide on in the next week or so as we get to the NHL draft, which will begin next Friday. We will have a quick early plug. We will have a pre-draft show next Thursday night. Working on a couple of guests right now that probably know the developmental system a little bit better than the 2 or 3 of us, or 4 of us for that matter. But it's going to be interesting to see because the Sharks only have 2 picks in the first 90 of this draft in what is considered probably one of the deepest drafts in some time. And there's been some talk that the Sharks might even move up. Because they are very interested in I've heard some rumors like they want to talk to the Coyotes, whether they're the Coyotes or not, about moving up to number 3. That they might give up Logan Couture to get to number 3.
No effing way, just not gonna happen.
That they would possibly do that so they can select either Dylan Strome or defenseman Noah Hanifin. Hanifin sounds like he's going to be the top defensive guy in the draft. We'll see. We'll break it down because this is probably, and we'll mention this again, this is probably the most interesting draft in quite some time for the Sharks, I would say.
Well, considering that they're actually have a top 10 pick. Yeah, well, I mean, and that being said, we'll get to that once it happens. I mean, obviously, you're talking about next Thursday doing a little bit of a little bit of pre-coverage, and then I would assume between then and free agent frenzy, July 1st, we'll get back on there after we learn a little bit more about what the Sharks have done, whether they made moves to move up or down, and who they selected.
Yeah, it's going to be an insane next week. I mean, you better stay on social media because it's going to be crazy. There's a lot of talk about trades, not just with the Sharks, but I mean, talks with Colorado wanting to get rid of Ryan O'Reilly. The Phil Kessel talk has been absolutely redonkulous.
I've also heard some
to the radio stations up in Canada.
I've also heard some stuff about TJ Oshie possibly being on the move. So
that there's been a talk that maybe the Blues would talk to the Leafs about swapping Oshie and Kessel. There's Chester Chivo is checking in. Thank you for watching. Started out late. Do you think the guys will the Sharks kick the tires on Malkin and Stamkos? It's tough to say. I would say no, just because I think the price is too high than the Sharks want to pay right now. I would say no for Malkin, considering that he's had some banged up issues, and throw in that he's getting paid $9.5 million. He would easily be the highest paid Shark in franchise history. Tampa, though, has $3 million left in their cap. Stamkos is getting paid $7.5 million with 1 year left on his contract. That one is a very interesting one because I could see them.
Did you picture Stamkos skating with Thornton for 2 seasons?
I'm just thinking his last season's $5.5 million, which is interesting because, by the way, general manager, thank you so much for filling in the void of Cap Geek. His first 4 years were all $8 million, and then his last year is $5.5 million. And the kicker here is that he has a no movement clause once the season starts. So up until July 1st, he can get traded.
And don't we have some sort of agreement with Tampa Bay about future considerations because of Navy?
I'm not quite sure if that's how it actually works, but there's something there. So if Stamkos wants out of Tampa,
what would Tampa want for him though? That's the question.
Oh, that's a very good question.
You know, like if they
first in next year's second, or do you give like Couture and next year's second?
See, I don't see them moving Couture. I just don't see that happening. I could maybe it's a case of your second rounder this year, your first rounder next year, and like say Chris Tierney or something.
Well, here's my thinking on Couture. Couture is a year older and has a contract through 2019. The thing here is that he has a modified no trade that'll kick in July 1st.
God damn you, Chester, for bringing this up.
I mean, it's a great question because if you can do that, Couture becomes the man in Tampa. Let's be real here. He is a cheaper option than Stamkos would be, and Tampa wouldn't lose anything. It is such a interesting thought. By the way, kind of ironic because Couture was selected 9th overall by the Sharks in 2007. Guess what we're picking on Friday? Next Friday, 9th overall.
Oh, it could be interesting. And then and as I was talking about that fourth line, I would assume that Goldobin is going to get an extended look in the scrimmage, and then obviously in training camp come September. So he might be one of the guys who is playing for that fourth line spot and trying to work his way up.
Yeah, Goldobin's going to be very interesting. You're going to have, I mean, you know what? As much as crap if we've been giving Doug Wilson the last couple of years, he has quickly gotten some prospects in there. Jeff Plobs, which I can't think of the city that he played in, but it was the Armada in the QMJHL. He looked like a stud in all season and in the playoffs. What's the other one I'm thinking of? Oh gosh, Roque Chartier.
Oh yeah.
He was getting a buttload of love during the Memorial Cup playoffs. It's very interesting to see. So
yeah. So well, we'll see how it shakes out. Are you going to go to the scrimmage game? I'm thinking about going.
Yeah. Gentry actually got a ticket for me.
Oh, okay.
So
thinking I might slide over to that.
Yeah, and it's $5. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's $5. You get to enjoy air conditioning and watch a hockey game. I mean, how can you beat it? I mean, let's be real here.
And the cool thing also about the draft preview next Thursday, we can also, I will be there to not say jack shit about the draft. I mean, we know what the needs are. We've lamented on them all season long. I don't know enough about the guys in college, and so that's why Erica's working on getting some people in here that actually have some knowledge on that. My job next Thursday, provided I am available, and I think I am, will be
I hope so.
to absolutely condemn the NHL schedule makers probably because the full schedule, the preseason schedule came out a day or two ago, and a couple of games against Vancouver, a couple of games against Arizona. Whoop-de-doo! But the big thing is the big schedule. The full season comes out next Thursday, and we all know how this season started, and it's like first 16 of the first 21 on the road. I mean, just awful. We've seen the Sharks time and time have to go on these ridiculous roadies where they're like 8 games on the East Coast. There doesn't seem to be any type of any type of effort from the NHL offices to try to at least balance it out, make it a little bit more fair and a level playing field when it comes to travel. I know there's only so much you can do with regards to, it's not the Rangers' fault that they live, within a 300-mile radius of like 10 teams, and the Sharks don't live within a 3-mile radius of an AHL team. But it is just the fact that every year the San Jose Sharks fly more fucking miles than any other team in the league. It's like, come on, make a concerted effort to have some. Why don't the Sharks ever play back-to-back in LA and Anaheim? As every other team who comes out here, they always do that. And it's like, and I know technically they played a back-to-back last season, except, they fucking dropped Christmas right in the middle of it. But it's, there should not be a problem for them to go down on Wednesday night, play LA, play Anaheim Thursday night, come back. It shouldn't be a problem. If you're going to do 3 and 4 nights, have them, LA, Anaheim, Arizona, fly back. But at least make a goddamn concerted effort to try to level the fucking playing field for once, just for one season. I'd like to see that. I don't think it should be that difficult for it to happen. And do you think that because of the start of with the whole 16 of the first 21 on the road, do you think the Sharks will see some sort of a break this season? Like maybe it's a little more balanced, or do you think they try to like make up for it this season and 16 of the first 21 are at home? Do you think there's something that happens?
I don't think they would start 16 or 21. It would kind of just, I don't know if they would ever do that, because I think all teams like to kind of have that push later on. but we'll see. I'm looking at the SAP Center's website, and there's no events from October 3rd to the 19th. Um, so I mean, it's quite conceivable that they can sneak in maybe 6 games there. Um, but I mean, and they have a big block between the 11th and 27th. I mean, there's a bunch of them there. But outside that, really isn't too much for them to go around. So the schedule's wide open. And let's be honest here too. There's another tenant in the building.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told that there would probably you could probably even see some Sunday games where they play in the afternoon.
Which I will so be doing.
I think it'll be a lot more fun.
I can totally picture having like Sunday ticket on my iPad, like having whatever football game going in the seats while having the hockey game right in front of me. You know,
well, see, that's the other thing too is that maybe they won't have the Sunday games until after January, just because they want to avoid the conflict with the Niners, especially since the Niners are literally 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Just picture the nightmare traffic on that. But yeah, we'll touch on that. We will find out when the home opener is on Wednesday. And next Thursday, we'll be back here for the draft preview. And then also that morning, we'll find out the full schedule and we will break it down. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they would do. You get to probably see you'll have your usual array of 7 game road trips, and in a way, it's kind of nice to have those long road trips in the East because that way you get them out of the way.
And you know what is if they're scheduled sensibly, then I'm all for it. But you know, there was that one ridiculous trip where it's like to play the Capitals. It's like play the Capitals, then the Red Wings, then the Panthers, then the Canadians, then the Hurricanes, then the Bruins, then the Avs, and come home. You know, where it's
or a couple of years ago when I think we started out in Winnipeg, then went to Chicago, went to Vancouver, or no, we went up to Edmonton, then to Vancouver, back to Calgary, then to Arizona, and then home.
Well, that's not too bad because at least with that you're not crossing the Mississippi.
But the problem is that you're going back and forth between time zones.
Why
don't you start in Arizona, go up to Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Chicago, come home, boom, done.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But for me, it's the bigger ones is like I don't know. I just don't see why there can't be some sort of concerted effort that when the Sharks do like their East Coast swings, how you can't make an effort for them to say, you know, Toronto one night, then the following night they do back-to-back Toronto and Montreal, have a day off, then you know, play the Rangers, play Boston, have a day off, then say, you know, back-to-back with the Rangers and the Islanders, and then maybe a game in DC, and then boom, you're home. You know, play against the Capitals and then you're home, and then the next time you go out there, you know, you do Philly and Pittsburgh back to back or whatever, and then you know, and then maybe say you do a 5 or 6 game road trip where it's Philly, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Tampa, Miami, Nashville. You're home. You know, maybe throw Dallas on the way home or something. But there just seems like there can be a concerted effort to make it so at least the Sharks for one glorious goddamn season don't have the most air miles.
Right. And by the way, if anybody that's a season ticket holder or a Shark Pack holder can let me in on this, I haven't had anything come my way for renewals, and usually I thought we've had something come out by now for
what?
For renewing.
Dude, the renewals that happened like back in February.
No, but I mean the next step in the renewing, because I haven't heard anything yet.
Really?
Yeah, for me and Gentry Shark Pack, I haven't heard anything
you know what?
on it.
Okay,
except for early on. So I don't know if it.
Well, because I know there was a big thing where they bumped it up a lot earlier than usual, and they switched the payment plan a little bit. You know what though? And we had discussed this before that we were pontificating that it could be a case of, well, they know that the season is going to hell in a handbasket, so let's try to get people signed, locked in early before they can figure out to do something else, or to realize that, you know what, maybe I should be spending some money on the Warriors because they look pretty good this season.
Yeah, and that's we can, if you want to touch on that now, or do you want to wait till later?
Leave that to later. And then you go to now. Maybe it's a case of they're waiting on the next step because they have really high hopes for between now and July 1st. So who knows?
Yeah, it's just curious because usually I've kind of heard something, but then again, maybe they're waiting to put out the schedule, so that way people know which.
There you go. Because they do them in like 4 different choices, right?
Right.
One's opening night, one has fan appreciation, one has like whoever has Pittsburgh and Detroit or something, and then the other package has like Montreal and Toronto or something.
Right, and also they will compete with the half season ticket option too that they're unveiling this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Looking for any other final thoughts. This is just a quick one, just because we saw three guys who were criticized the most, if anything, among us. Are pretty much gone now, but I just can't see anything else that we can touch on at the moment. But it'll be interesting. Next week is going to be very, very intriguing.
Between now and July 1st. Between now and July 1st.
I think between now and Friday, because there's a number of teams that have multiple picks. We're looking at Edmonton and Arizona. That have a number of picks that might go for, where they can forfeit maybe a pick.
To get a proven guy today,
yeah, to jump on right then and there.
I can't wait to see what Edmonton does. Cannot wait. Between the new GM, the new coach, the number 1 pick. I mean, holy crap, dude. Cannot wait to see what Edmonton does.
Apparently, they have better odds than
the
Sharks do.
What a fucking shocker! What a fucking shock!
But well, that's how things roll when you lose. When you lose one time or don't make the playoffs one time, it's amazing what happens after that. So yeah, final thoughts, AJ.
We'll see what happens. That's my final thought. Congrats, Warriors, and that's all I want to discuss about that at all.
Hey, kudos to them. It's another world championship for the Bay Area.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But honestly, I don't know if you've never heard, at the very least heard it. I don't think anybody has video of it. But get on YouTube and search Christian Bale meltdown. It's one of the funniest pieces of audio ever, where he's on a movie set, somebody gets in his sight line, and then all hell breaks loose. And the best part is the guy that he's arguing with says something, and it's kind of faint because that guy's not mic'd, whereas obviously Christian Bale is. And Christian Bale's best line in that whole deal is he goes, "Oh, good for you." Yep. And when the Warriors won the championship, that was my whole thing. Oh, good for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, hang on. There you go.
I'm just not a basketball fan, but it's a Bay Area team, so congrats to you. And you know what? When the Sharks win, I don't expect any. Oh, there you go. I don't expect any Warriors fans at our party, so it's all good. Respect.
We give them much love. I jumped on during the conference final and the finals. It was, it's always nice to have a Bay Area team in here, but it's like, yeah, now it really hurts because, like I tweeted out before, Niners have 5, A's have 4, Giants have 3, Raiders have 2 plus the one in LA. The Warriors have 2 plus the 2 in Philadelphia.
Well, and the fact that there's
the Quakes and the Rhinos.
Well, okay. I'm just talking about the six major. I'm not going to talk about the Rhinos or the Quakes. Not that I'm discounting MLS, but I'm talking about NHL, MLB, NBA, NFL. And if you look since the Sharks have come into existence, the Niners have won a Super Bowl. They've been to a second one. The Giants have won three championships. Now the Warriors have won a championship. And if you think about it, the A's last championship was only like 1-2 years before the Sharks came into existence. So, I mean, it's like, come on, man. Like, when's going to be our time?
And that's the problem is that you got to start thinking about that. I'm sorry, that's got to be in your head now because you're going to lose a lot of major bucks to the Warriors. You're going to lose some families to the Barracuda.
Potentially, yeah. You know what though? Work is calling, so I got to hop off. But if you ever get the opportunity, there's a part in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Go watch that movie, and there's a part that describes me perfectly, and it's Ben Affleck talking about Silent Bob, saying, this fucking chucklehead, when, God, when? When's gonna be my time? That's it. That's how I feel every fucking year with this. So,
absolutely. So
I'll see you next Thursday, bro.
All right, for Chris and AJ, it's Puckeye 14. Have a great night. Take care.